We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Amud Beis in Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 50b. The Gemara is discussing the sources of Rabbi Akiva's wealth. Umin Ishto Shel Tornis Rupis, also from the wife of Tornis Rupis. Umin Ketia Bar Shalom, and also from Ketia Bar Shalom. And the Mefarish explains Umin Ishto Shel Tornis Rupis, and from the wife of Tornis Rupis. Adon Echad Sheshmo Rufus. This was a certain master whose name was Rufus. Vaya Mefatfed B'Divrei Torah Keneged Rabbi Akiva. He would argue in Divrei Torah against Rabbi Akiva. Vaya Rabbi Akiva Menatzcho B'Chol Pam, and Rabbi Akiva would always be victorious. Vaya also Adon Misbayish, and that particular Adon was embarrassed by this. Uba v'sipar l'ishto, he came and he told his wife. Amra lo, so she said to him, Ani afteo v'achshi leo, I'm going to seduce him and I'll cause him to stumble. Lefi shahaisa yefas toar b'yosef, because she was very beautiful. Basa etzlo, so she came to him, v'gilsa shoka kenegdo, she revealed her thigh to him. V'rok Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva spit, v'sachak, and he laughed, uboch, and he cried. Amar lo, so she said to him, Madua sisakain, why are you doing these things? Amar lo, so he said to her, Ashnayim omer lach, two of them I'll explain to you. Masher akakti b'shvil shemitipa srucha basa. The reason I spit is because you came from a tipa srucha, just from a small drop you were created. Uvachisi, and I cried b'shvil sheyofyach asid levalos bars, because your beauty one day it's going to decay in the earth. Umasha sachak, and the reason why I laughed, lo ratza lomar lo. So he didn't want to tell her that. Afal piche, nevertheless, hiftzira bo, she pressured him. At sha'amar lo, until he said to her, sha'asidol hisgayer. He said, the reason why I laughed is because in the future you're going to convert. Betinase lo, and he told her that she would marry him. Amra lo, so she said to him, v'chiyesh teshuva, is there really repentance after this? Amar lo, he said to her, hein, yes. So after her husband died, she actually did convert. Lo, and she got married to him. And she brought him a lot of money. And finally it said, Min Ketia Bar Shalom, from Ketia Bar Shalom, Meforish b'Meseches Avodah Zarah, b'Perakama. This is explained in the first parak of Avodah Zarah. It's talking about a particular Roman minister who bequeathed his wealth to Rabbi Akiva. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Rav Gamda yoyev dalid zuze l'sfunoi. Rav Gamda gave 4 zuz to some sailors, laisuye behon midam, to bring him back something. Lo ashkachu, they didn't find anything of value. Asiyua le behon kufa, so instead they used it to purchase a monkey. Ishtamet al charsa, so the monkey escaped. It went into a hole. Chafru basrei, they dug after it. Ashkachua deravia al margalaisa, they found that it was crouching over pearls. Aisinon le kulhon, and so they brought to Rav Gamda all of these pearls. Amrulay bas Kaiser Rabbi Yoshua ben Chananya, the daughter of the Caesar, said to Rabbi Yoshua ben Chananya, Torah mefoara b'chli mechower. The Torah is a glorious thing, and it's in a vessel that's so ugly. She was telling Rabbi Yoshua ben Chananya that you're very ugly. Amar la, so he said to her, Lamdi mi beis avuch. Let's learn from the house of your father. B'mem menichin yayin. Where does he place his wine? Amrulay, so she said to him, B'mani de pachra. My father places his wine in these vessels, these earthenware vessels. Amar la, so he said to her, Kuli alma bepachra. Everybody else puts it in earthenware vessels. V'yotan b'mani de pachra, and you also put it in earthenware vessels. In other words, you're the daughter of the Caesar. You should put it in something that's gold or silver. And he continued, Atun achisun b'mani de chaspa v'dava. You should place yours in these vessels of silver and gold. So that's what happened. Azlas v'ramas chamra. So she went and she placed her wine b'mani de chaspa v'dava in these vessels of silver and gold, v'sari, and they spoiled. Amar lo, so then he said to her, Afo raisa came. The same thing is true when it comes to the Torah. It is better kept in a vessel of earthenware, so to speak, meaning in myself, I'm not so good looking, rather than somebody who is good looking. And so the Gemara continues, and the Bach puts in the words Amrulay. She said back to him, V'ayika shapir nugamir, aren't there good looking people who are learned? So Amar lo, so he said back to her, you have a son who, if they would be not good looking, have a gemir in tvei, they would be even more learned. And the Gemara continues, Hahida asya l'kami de Rav Yehuda min Hardoi l'dina. There was a woman who came before Rav Yehuda from Hardoi for a court case. B'schayavt min din, and she was found guilty in the court case. Amrulay, so she said to him, Shmuel Rabba Chachi Danan, with Shmuel your Rebbe, would he have judged the case in this fashion? Amar lo, so he said to her, Yadatle, did you know him? Amrulay, she said to him, yes, I did know him. Gotza, he's short, Verabba, and he's Verabba Krise, and his stomach is big. Ochem, and he's dark. Verabba Shine, and he has large teeth. Amar la, so he said to her, Levazuye Koasis, did you come here in order to embarrass him, to shame him? To have Yahiyitasa Beshamta, this particular woman, she should be in excommunication, Pakov a Mesa, and she split open, her innards split open, and she died. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Umutter bebeitza tormita. Let's say a person takes a neder from Tavshil, so he's mutter to have the tormita egg. The Gemara says, "My beitza tormita." What is the tormita egg? Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, "Avda da Ovid la shavi alpha dinari." A servant who's able to make the tormita egg, that servant is worth 1,000 dinarim. Uma'ayla alpha zimna b'maya chamimi. The way you make it is you put it 1,000 times in hot water. The alpha zimna b'maya kriri, and then you put it 1,000 times in cold water. Ad demidzutra ki hechid balisa, until it becomes so small that it can be swallowed. V'mis keva sarich Allah. Now, if there's some kind of ailment the person has, if he swallows this egg, then you're going to get a little residue on the egg. This was a way for doctors to diagnose ailments. Bekadnafka v'asya, and when the egg would leave the body and it would be brought to the doctor, yoda asya ma'isama misboile uvemai mitasi. So the doctor would know what medicine was needed and how the person could be healed. And the Gemara continues, Shmuel have a bodek nafshe bekulcha. Shmuel would examine himself with kulcha, and that would cause him a great deal of pain, and that would cause anxiety to the members of his household. Ad mistarin inshe beise oles areon, until the people of his household, they were so anxious because of it that they would undo their hair. And the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned over there in the Mishnah, there's a general halacha that if a worker is working in a field, so he's allowed to partake of the food of that field. And so the Mishnah says, Haya'osa b'chlufsin lo yochal b'vnos sheva. If a person is working with the chlufsin, he can't eat the b'nos sheva. You have to eat from the same species that you're working with. B'vnos sheva, if he's working with the b'nos sheva, lo yochal b'chlufsin. He can't eat the chlufsin. My chlufsin, what is chlufsin? Mina de te'eni. It's a kind of a fig. These are species of figs. Da'avdin minhon lifti. And you make from that, you make lifti, which is a kind of compote made from figs. And the Gemara continues, Hahu Gavra Yoav Avdal Chavri. There was an individual who gave over his servant to his friend. La'agmure alpha mine lifti. He wanted his friend to teach his servant how to make 1,000 different kinds of lifti. So Agmare Tamne Meya. So he taught him only 800. So Azmane Ladino Lakame de Rebbe. So he brought his friend to court in front of Rebbe because he said, I hired you to teach him 1,000. You only taught him 800. Amar Rebbe said, Avoseinu Amar, our father said, Nashinu Tova, that we've forgotten about extravagance. But we afilu beinenu lo reinu. We haven't even seen such extravagance. The Mefarish over here says, Avoseinu Amar Nashinu Tova, Dechsiv Nashisi Tova, like the pasuk says. Nashisi Tova means Shara'ua Kvar, that I've seen such a thing. Ela she'achshav shachachua, but now that kind of extravagance has been forgotten. Aval Anu, but says Rebbe, we lo reinu Tova me'olam. We don't know such extravagance ever. She'inanu yodim kama mine tam yesh beperes. We don't know about how many different flavors you can have in the fruits. Kilomar, what Rebbe was really saying was davar muflahu shekol kach limdo. It's amazing that this person even taught him 800 different kinds of ways to make this dish. That's something that we haven't even experienced, such extravagance. And the Gemara continues, Rebbe Ovid lehilula l'Rebbe Shimon b'Rebbe. Rebbe made a wedding for Rebbe Shimon, his son. Kasav al beis ginana, someone wrote on the wedding canopy, Esrin v'arba alfin riboin dinarim. There were 24 million dinarim, nefako al beis ginana day, that was spent on this wedding canopy. V'lo azmane levar kapara. Yet Bar Kapara was not invited to this wedding. And the Mefarish over here explains, Lo azmane lebar kapara. Bar Kapara wasn't invited. Lefi shaya ish badchad. Bar Kapara, he was a person who made jokes. He made people laugh. As we'll see later on, Rebbe was afraid that Bar Kapara was going to make him laugh, and that was something that Rebbe did not want. So Amar Le, so he said to him, this is Bar Kapara saying to Rebbe, Im lo'ovre ritzono kachef, for people who violate the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is what happens, meaning you get so wealthy. Lo'ose ritzono alachas kama v'kama. Imagine the wealth for somebody who fulfills the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Mefarish says, Amar Bar Kapara l'Rebbe, Im lo'ovre ritzono mashpia lo tova kol kach. Lo'ose ritzono, if you're going to get so wealthy and you don't do the right thing, you don't invite me. Imagine someone who does the right thing. Shayim meganeu al shelo zimnu. In other words, Bar Kapara was insulting him because Bar Kapara was not invited to the wedding. And so the Gemara continues, Azmane, so finally he did invite him. Amar, so then Bar Kapara said, Liose ritzona bo'olam hazeh, those who do the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu get rewarded in this world like this. Kach liolam haba, alachas kama v'kama. Imagine how much reward you're going to get, Rebbe, in the next world. And the Mefarish says, Laose ritzono mashbia lo bo'olam hazeh tov. If you get so much good in this world, kol kach shehischil esaber b'shivcho b'shvil shazimno. The point of the Gemara is now Bar Kapara started to praise Rebbe because he was invited to the wedding. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Yomad mechayich bei Rebbe, asya por anusa li'alma. In general, on a day when Rebbe would smile or laugh, so then punishment would come to the world. That's why he wanted to avoid bar kapara. So Amar leila bar kapara, so he said to bar kapara, Lo savdichan, don't make me smile, don't bring me this joy. V'yahivna lach arboin grive chitin. If you do so, then I'm going to give you 40 grivi, which is a certain measure of wheat. And that refers to 40 saw of wheat. And so Bar Kapara responded, Amar Lei said to him, Lichzi Mar, see master, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Aleph, Amud Aleph.